Welcome, 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 everybody. I am back again with another episode at A Notch Higher Living YouTube channel. Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy 2025. It is the year 2025 of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I have another phenomenal, not pun intended, phenomenal guest, Aisha Taylor. Hello, Aisha.
Hello. By the way, you have a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you. How are you doing in this new year?
I am doing amazing. How are you doing?
I am doing amazing as well. It is actually, before we started this, we have known each other now for 10 years. I was like, 2016. She was like, was it 2016?
Mm-mm.
I was like, oh, what year was that? You said that was 2015. I was like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
So Aisha and
Good
I
and
met.
pregnant.
Good. You were very good and pregnant. So that's amazing. So Aisha and I met through a mutual connection, Carol. So shout out to Carol. Gonna have to thank you again for connecting us. But from that connection, we have done things together. I have connected with Aisha. Yeah, when we met in person, and then you actually ended up, were you in between? No, you ended up going back home to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we haven't seen each other in a while, but we still are connected. So
Mm-hmm.
I am wanting to introduce you to the A Notch Higher YouTube family community because in 2025, I have put out my second book, but this time it's a workbook called Healthy by Design. Thank you so much. And what I am connecting people with are people who are of a good reputation, of resource, and of good wisdom and whatever that you are able to offer, because the space that's created for this YouTube channel is for people to be able to create a space and learn, develop, and thrive in having healthy relationship skills. And it's
Nice.
usually focused in one of six or all areas. So that's emotional, financial, physical, relational, spiritual, and vocational, or career or purpose. The reason why I'm explaining this to everyone, because you can now hit Healthy by Design, the workbook, and then I have wonderful people like Aisha who will be connected by QR code in the digital connection for people who need specific resources tailored to you. So, with that being said, I am going to cue up who Aisha Taylor is, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a background, and then we're going to get into a great conversation with her. So, Aisha is a single mom of twins, and she, in her book, Navigating the Impossible. So, that is what this is all about. Aisha's experience with navigating the impossible. She shares lessons and relatable stories and personal reflections on a journey that helped her shift her mindset from embarrassment to empowerment. In the book, Navigating the Impossible, it is a handbook. Again, think about the workbook. Give me you another handbook that will be very, very applicable to your life. And a personal testimony of God's love and promise to never leave us or let us down, abandon us, forsake us, even when we feel alone in our single mom journey. So, with that being said, I want to bring up Aisha to ask you a couple of questions after I share one thing about FNPhenomenal that I think people want to know, and a little bit more about FNPhenomenal. So that's what it is FNPhenomenal. It's a movement designed to help single moms grow in their faith, walk in purpose, and build financially phenomenal futures. This is done by providing the knowledge and tools to achieve their desired financial goals. And I love the vision is to believing that every single mom has worth, value, and a God given purpose. Proper financial stewardship is essential to your single motherhood journey. So, if you are a single mom and want to have phenomenal experiences, build a solid financial future, and ultimately build a legacy for your family, and still be an amazing mom and woman, then you want to connect with Aisha. So, with that being said, Aisha, why did you decide that it was now time to write this type of book? You've written books before, but why was it time to write this type of book for this time and this age and this stage in your life?
That's an excellent question because I didn't mean to write the book, and I know that it sounds really crazy when I say I didn't mean to write the book. So, like, are you saying you didn't mean to like sit in front of a computer and like type it out and it publish it?
Right,
Like, are you
exactly.
saying you
Well, how did it
accidentally
come?
did it? And so I say I didn't mean to write the book because number one, I didn't want to do a single mom's ministry. Like, I already had a personal financial business, and Jan, so we know each other before it became the single mom financial business. It was all about single women who were, working corporate careers and helping them manage their money better to be able
It's
to have
true.
amazing experiences. So we like you have seen the full evolution of what this was. But when I became a single mom, number one, I was very embarrassed about it. Um, a Christian in church, got pregnant. He walked out, and now I'm pregnant with twins, going to be a single mom. And I came from a two-parent household. So I was just so embarrassed on so many different sides. And once I became a mom, a single mom, I wanted to continue down the path of, single women have these amazing experiences. Really, when I first started my business in back even longer than 20, it's been probably 13, 14 years now. Um, it was more about Sex in the City lifestyle on a budget. Like, and so it's really evolved. But as I was going through that first year of motherhood, I was struggling financially. And I love how you talked about relationships and all these different factors that impact your relationships, and finances is a big thing. How you feel about yourself is a big thing, because how you feel about your money, your finances, how you operate your finances impacts how you see and interact with other people. And so here I am. I'm a single mom now. My kids are around a year old, and I'm struggling financially. And I'm the one who's been teaching finances for years. So that adds on another layer of shame. And even though before I would talk about how your emotions impact your finances, I'm really seeing it on a whole new level, being a single mom, dealing with the hurt of being walked out on, dealing with the confusion and worry and fear about how this is going to work out. And I started to stress spend. I was dealing with single mom guilt and all this fear around single motherhood and how it was going to impact my kids and how they were going to be able to thrive and everything. And so it's really cool that I'm almost 10 years on the other side of that. So I can even share a different perspective even now about that. But during that time, I was very afraid. I was watching my bank account dwindle to zero. It ultimately dwindled to below zero. And I just felt so powerless to stop it. And I remember it was a coach of mine at the time. I'm just like, I feel like the Lord is calling me to shift to focus on single moms, because if I'm struggling financially, what does this mean? How are other people dealing with it? Because I have an MBA in finance. I have a certificate in personal financial planning. Like, I have an economics degree. I have a corporate finance background. So much of my adult life was in education wise, was in finance and even career. And I'm like, and if I'm struggling with this, like, how are other people struggling? And she really challenged me to answer the call of what God was saying, because I wanted to run from it, because I still had so much shame and embarrassment about what was happening and what had happened, and how I felt like my life was going to go one way, but then it ended up going a different way. Because keep in mind, when I got pregnant, I had just quit my full time job to become a full time entrepreneur. So in my world, like, so many of my dreams and everything that I thought that I had been working for, what I thought I wanted, it was all collapsing in front of my face. And I felt so powerless to do anything about it. And so me switching my business to help single moms also allowed me to heal. And I didn't know that in the process of what I was documenting, I just started to share blog posts about what I was learning. And one day I was in the cell phone store because I needed to get a new cell phone. And I want to tell you this. If you are in a line and it just feels like it's taking forever, maybe take a step and pray and just ask God, like, you have slowed me down for a reason. Can't go nowhere. Need the cell phone. So why do you have me waiting? Like, okay, let me hear from you. And I didn't do that, but I just thought about that right now. I'm just waiting, minding my own business. And all of a sudden, the Lord just started to download all of this stuff into my brain. And I just whip out my notes app. I was using Evernote and just whipped it out and just started to document everything that I was hearing. And I looked and I'm just like, oh, this looks like a book. Like have you ever seen that movie Beautiful Mind where he's like this on the chalkboard? I
Yes.
was like
Yes.
this on my cell phone. And,
Okay. Okay.
and I look at it, I was like, oh, this looks like a book outline. Because what I thought was gonna be a blog series
Okay.
turned into a book outline. And from there, when my dad got home from work, I would just ask him to watch the kids, and I would go to the coffee shop, and I would just start writing, 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 writing. And I'm like, okay, it's a nice, cool blog series that turned into a book this thick.
Yes.
So, and it literally goes from A to Z to help these moms. Like when you find out like you're pregnant, you're going to be a single mom. How do you navigate this? So many things that you just talked about emotionally, financially, practically, building your support system. How do you keep the proper perspective that you can still have a full life, a life that
Yeah.
allows you to thrive? And so that's why I say I didn't mean to write the book, it just kinda happened.
Wow. What I hear you say is that you didn't think you were going to write the book, but it was a calling that you obeyed and you
Mhm.
chose to accept the calling. So thank
And
you.
it's that, and then it's also one other piece because, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But then once I wrote the book, it sat on my computer for almost 4 years because I was embarrassed, because I knew that if I published the book, I would have to come face to face with all of the emotions, the embarrassment, the shame, the fear of what other people would think, fear of feeling like, okay, I graduated magna cum laude from high school. I graduated from Duke. I graduated from University of Michigan. So and then I had an amazing career in corporate finance. So
Mhm.
when you look at people and say, "Oh, this person might be a single mom," I think we have these judgments about what and stereotypes about what single moms are and who they are. And I had to confront everything that I felt around the stigma that I felt, the shame that I felt, the fear of other people's opinions. And I really had to submit that to the Lord. And once I wrote it, I was like, okay, Lord, I did what you told me to do. But then 4 years, I started to feel over the course of a couple of years that I need to release this. And it was just somebody gave me a prophetic word. And out of the blue, somebody who had no idea I wrote the book, had no idea I was at rebellion in this point. And I just knew that it was time. And I needed to submit everything that I was feeling, everything that I was holding on to, all of the fear, the worry, the anxiety, fear of judgment. Um, and also and go through forgiveness, forgive me, right? Forgive
Mhm.
all these other people who had hurt me during that stage. Give that all to God and allow him to heal me. And so, yeah, it was just so much. And as I was writing, it was very therapeutic for me and healing and liberating to me as well.
I hear that. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel that I am to let you know that there is a grace moment for you as well. Because sometimes we think that, "Oh, I did this, then this has to happen." So, the timing that you may have needed, that always provides it for us. And you know what you needed to do when you needed to do, so I won't minimize that. But what I will say is that the writing portion is one part.
Mhm.
Putting it into the world for what it's supposed to do is completely different.
Mhm.
So, when we're talking about navigating the impossible in real life, not on Instagram famous reels, but in real life, I want to honor the transparency and the vulnerability that you had to navigate to even make the book come out to be possible for others to be able to read, because that's what we're talking about. Even when I combine healthy by design I want people to know completely. This isn't a linear direction where it's just a nice idea. When you think about um, designing something, I will say a home, there's foundational work that has to be done before you do anything about the beautiful edifice. Like you can have all the plans, you can draft it all, but the foundation, and that's what I hear happen with you sometime during those 4 years. You could have put out a book and it could have been still surface level. God took you through a process where you had to really face, like you said, now that it was written, you had to face all of those obstacles internally. And that's what the impossible actually does. It um it will cause you to silence yourself, but as you're navigating it with the power of the Holy Spirit, he causes you to face those family of origin issues, the statistical embarrassment things, the stigmas, the all of the things, the shame. You mentioned shame and you mentioned a term, you were stress spending, again, connected to emotion. So I want people to hear Aisha's transparent and vulnerability, whether you are a single mom, single dad, a single person without children, but we're specifically talking about single moms because I heard a statistic and I won't quote it incorrectly. It's just a higher number of single parents than what we really think. So if you have that high statistic of people who may have shame, guilt, and everyone can have this, but we're talking about specifically our single parents who are raising children. So how are we raising our children? It's not guilting anything. It's a matter of there is just such a big possibility for there to be an evolving of healing and an evolving of wholeness when we face the impossibilities in our lives. So, Aisha, what I hear you saying is that you, again, weren't clear at first of, oh, I'm going to write a book. That wasn't your, ultimate goal. But as you start getting clearer and listening and you actually did it, you went into another space that now you're able to help other women navigate specifically because it's like you're the Harriet Tubman. Okay, we got to go this route. You may face this. Oh, you're going to need this. And what I hear those 4 years that you had, you navigated those design specs. And I'm using the word design because it's like our lives are uh, beautiful murals or beautiful uh, projects, beautiful design pieces, but it takes a lot of concentration and a lot of work and a lot of what you did facing the hard places. So one thing I would like to this is going to be really short because what I want people to hear and take away from this is that I need to connect with Aisha Taylor. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I'm gonna give you an opportunity to connect with her. So we're gonna wrap this up. I think you've heard enough that you needed to hear, but what I want to ask you is how can how was self-awareness and you allowing that self-awareness to make the impossible possible for you? Because there was a point when you said, "Oh, wait, I did this, but now I don't want to do it." How was you heard the prophecy, but there was still something that you had to agree with. So how did you do that? And how would you encourage others to do that as well? Let me know if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. And one of the things that I would say is when you go through a, a hard time, a difficult time, and honestly, I think therapy is for everybody. I really do. And for me, when I heard the prophecy, I had also been in therapy for a couple of years. And it was really ringing true with certain things that I was hearing my therapist say. Because when you go through an impossible situation and becoming a single mom really does feel like a mountain moving moment. Whether you become a single mom through an unexpected pregnancy, through divorce, through widowhood, whatever, right? It feels impossible in the moment. And so I really encourage anybody who's dealt with that to go through therapy. And even if it's been a long time ago, go through therapy still, right? And
Yes,
for me,
agreed.
during those years, I had been in therapy. I had also been in Bible study. And one of the things that was really helpful for me is by the time I released the book, my kids were, how were they? 7? How were they? I don't know. So I forget. But they're probably 7.
They weren't
But
babies.
so they were older. I'm like trying to think of like, yeah, they were 7.
Okay,
So
okay.
so so there's been a number of years that had gone past before between the time I wrote the book because they were probably around 3 or so when I wrote the book. I wrote it over a period of a year and a half. And so yeah, I started writing when they were pretty young. So I wrote it over a year and a half. So this did not happen overnight. And when I wrote it, when I released it, they were 7. So I had already gone through Bible, tons of Bible study, being in women's groups, reading the word, praying, being in therapy. And so I knew I could feel that it was time for me to come out of this season of just pure pain, hurt, unforgiveness, resentment, fear. I felt like God was calling me, but I was scared. I was scared. You can have all the tools, all the stuff, and still feel the fear of moving from that moment. And so that prophecy was like, it's time. Like, I can't hide anymore. And I had to make a decision to no longer hide. I was still afraid, but I had to make a decision to trust God more than I trusted the fear because the fear was telling me to stay safe, to stay confined, and to not move forward. And that's what really ended up happening. One of the things that I recommend people do is if you've gone through a lot, read the book of Exodus. I love the book of Exodus for so many reasons because the people of Israel were in bondage, literally. And through miraculous power of God, he took them out of bondage and put them into freedom. And sometimes when we go through something, that feels impossible, even when we're in freedom, we still operate as if we're in bondage. And that book in the Bible really gave me more knowledge of who God is, who the God I serve is. And I knew that he would never leave me nor forsake me, but I had to trust in him. And it was really just a faith step, kind of like, I just had the image of those trust falls. You know how in those corporate retreats, they have you do those trust falls and they're coming,
Yes,
they're supposed to catch you. Like it was like,
yes.
honestly, it was a trust fall moment. I had to trust God more than I trusted my fear. And I'm just grateful for that. But I want you guys to know that it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. So if you're in your process, give yourself grace, like Jasmine said.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that because that is really what I want to circle back to anyone who's heard everything that Aisha said. Trust the process and go through the process. I'm so grateful that you said it because I, like you, have still felt the fear, have felt the shame, and still walking towards the promise with that fear. A lot of times I think people think the fear goes away, like, and you're just walking in faith only. Sometimes the faith is walking with the fear and allowing fear just to dwindle, like get more silent. So you still feel that. And I think what I really want people to hear is that that's why I really want us to acknowledge our emotions because we can regulate them. And I use that term specifically, or we can navigate them like a child to say, "I understand you're upset. I understand you're scared. I understand." But giving yourself that grace to say, "But we're coming this way. We're healing this way." And that's what I hear you saying is that we may even have and we do have moments now. So I wanna normalize that. We are not perfect beings. We are willing to continue to move forward and answer that call. So as you think about navigating your impossible situation, if you're a single mom, I would like to invite you to connect with Aisha. Aisha, do you have any programs? How can people connect with you? Please share with people how they connect with you.
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Instagram at FNPhenomenal. You can also connect with me via email. Honestly, if you wanted to reach out to me about how to work together, things like that, email will probably be the best. And that is hello@fnphenomenal.com. You can also go to my website, fnphenomenal.com. And then if you want to get a copy of the book, Navigating the Impossible, this is the book. It is on Amazon. And even if you aren't pregnant right now, I know it says survival guide from pregnancy through the first year of motherhood. Even if you aren't pregnant right now, these resources will still be fantastic for you. Literally, half of this almost 500-page book is about finances. And so it'll take you through building your budget, what to do if you are running short for the month, like how to rebuild your credit, paying off debt. It takes you through everything. It also takes you through building a support system, which even if you aren't don't have tiny babies, you still need to do. But it also takes you through developing your relationship with God. And all of those things are helpful, whether you're pregnant, whether you're a new mom, whether you're a seasoned mom. All of these things are helpful. So I would definitely encourage you to grab a copy of the book, Navigating the Impossible. And if you notice, impossible is in quotes. And the reason why this was done intentionally is because when you're faced with the prospect of becoming a single mom, it feels impossible. People will tell you it's impossible. If you are pregnant and you are going to be a single mom, people will probably flat out and come and tell you that it will be impossible. But it's really an ode to the Lord to say nothing is impossible with God. And
Yeah.
so it gets back to submitting what we feel, submitting what we think we see, and submitting our fears to the Lord and allow His possibility to speak louder than our fear, to speak louder than our limitations, and to just be able to trust Him with the process, even though it feels impossible.
Amazing. That's all that needs to be said, everyone. So, again, pick up your copy of Navigating the Impossible with Aisha Taylor. I will put all of her contact information where you can connect with her. Share her with a friend. Please subscribe and share this with a friend as well. I'm actually going to dedicate this episode to our digital strategist and marketing media that put together Healthy by Design. She actually is having her baby in January. So I know that there are some things that she has been navigating in her life, new job, new life, and just so many different things. So I'm going to dedicate this to Kyla. And I am going to say to everyone else, as you walk throughout your life, it is possible to navigate your impossible situations with the help of God. And again, Healthy by Design is the workbook that is coming out so that we can connect you to beautiful, wonderful, reliable, vulnerable, and trusted resources like Aisha Taylor. So I will have that also in the description, and be on the lookout because as 2025 is coming into play, I'm going to be having free workshops for those who purchase the book. And then I'm going to see how I can get people like Aisha to be like a guest speaker just to share more about her resources and what she has available. So be on the lookout for that. And until the next time, you are worthy, you are valued, and you are loved. Take care. Thank you so much, Aisha, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.